Part 3 of Block 25 for my cybersecurity classmates. This is going to cover Nessus in Kali Linux. First thing we need to do is set Nessus up. I might already have it started, but I will perform a sudo system ctl. I think that's control. I don't remember. Sudo system ctl status Nessus. So we got to add a D. It's currently active, so let's stop it. I'm going to press up on the keyboard. Stat. Up twice to see status. It is inactive, dead. Let's start it. I believe you can also use Nessus d.system. It's effectively the same thing. Adding .system at the end here. And let's check our status again. And you can see that it's now active and running. The next thing we need to do is open up the Nessus port. I don't remember what that is off the top of my head. Let's ask our handy dandy chatbot. Nessus local port to connect to. Oh, Hacker Hood's on. Let's go. All right, 8834. So I think I can just do, I'm going to type Firefox to open up our favorite Linux browser. Localhost. Oh, it's already there for me. That's nice. Localhost and then a colon to indicate port number after that. We've already got our default login for our class. We've got an old scan from 22 here. Let's throw that away and create a new scan. And here are our scan options. I'm curious about checking open ports on printers for a pen test project I'm working on, so I might use that later. Let's perform a basic network scan and see what info we need. Basic network scan test PHP vuln. I'm going to pull up one of the previous ones. Save in my scans folder and plug in this sucker right here. Let's see what we get. So can plug in IPs, IP ranges with subnet masks and domains, it looks like. And let's hit save. Should hit that down and see if it has a save and run option. Let's go ahead and we clicked on the network scan that we created. I wonder if they called it job in this. Go ahead and launch the job. Status running here. We'll call it a scan. It's a scan. Security base. While it's loading, I'm going to look up and see what this is. What is security base in Nessus? Common Vulnerability Scoring System 3.0. I wonder who makes it. On that note, known exploits are given scores based on severity. National Institute of something, can't remember what it stands for right now. Standards and Technology has a scoring system. CISA has a scoring system. OWASP, all of them have scoring systems. I'm not sure which one they use most commonly, but you can learn about that on sites like the NIST site or CISA. Security base is a core set of metrics to evaluate inherent characteristics, attack vector, complexity, privileges required, whether user interaction is required for the exploit to occur, etc. We've still got our scan running. Let's see what else we can cover here. concept of plugins. Let's ask Gemini. I should be saying please to Gemini. Gotta be nice to the overlords. Plugins, small programs written in the Nessus attack scripting language. Curious about that. Each plugin is designed to perform different security checks, missing patches, outdated software, known vulns. Let's talk about some vocab real quick. Vulnerability is a weakness in an information system. Exploiting is using code or programs to leverage that weakness. Not all vulnerabilities are exploitable. Something that has the potential to take advantage of a vulnerability is known as a threat. So we've got vulnerabilities, exploits, and threats. Important keywords to be familiar with and able to talk through if you are performing a job interview, for instance. Vulnerabilities have associated severities, which are scored by associations such as NIST. I'm going to just reiterate it from my own memory. Something that has potential to take advantage of a vulnerability is a threat, and once that is then being leveraged actively, it becomes an exploit. Let's check back here. Still running. I don't know if we can click on this to get more information about it. Vulnerabilities. I think these are running a couple different, these might be the plugins that it's referring to. Just go to this. Hide or change the severity of any given plugin. Still going. Looks like you can poke around the system while it's running in the background. It doesn't interrupt the scan. Gosh, I might have to just take a break while this runs. I wonder if I should have done a faster one. Let's actually look to see, can we create a new scan will it interrupt the old one? So we did a basic. Let's perform a host discovery, see if we can run multiple jobs at the same time. Host discovery, scan, test, PHP, vuln, web, new, yes, save, let's see. So you can save it, and I would assume if you press launch, it saves and launches it, and now, yeah, we can run two scans at the same time. Seems like they're running in parallel. Naming conventions, not standardized. Disgusting. On web. Well, it's a race now. Let's see which one finishes first. Trying to think of other tools similar to Nessus, but let's just ask tools in Kali similar to Nessus. In case you don't have login for Nessus. OpenVAS, sure, Nmap. Probably combine a bunch of different tools to perform the same functions. I haven't used Nikto yet. Still going. On demand on the schedule probably means it's happening right now as we clicked it. I would assume you can schedule vulnerabilities to happen at night, or pardon me, scans to happen at night in a real system, so you're not taking up system bandwidth. So here's Nikto, social engineering toolkit. Interesting. Skipfish, Wapiti, Tycho Wapiti, OWASP Zap. This is probably very similar, using OWASP known exploits. web applications specifically for OWASP ZAP. I don't know, what's OWASP stand for? What's it stand for? Open Web Application Security Project. Okay. It's important to know about, especially if you're in web development. Oh, this is taking its time. How much talking can I do to fill the air here? We've discussed scans. Let's look up these vocabulary words while we're waiting. Nessus. Vocab lesson, please. Scans. Actively probing a system. Assets. Systems, devices, applications that you want to scan for vulnerabilities. So the target items, they're the things Nessus checks. Thanks. Gemini. Scan types, that's when we're looking at basic, advanced scan, printer scans. Scope and intensity of the scan. I'm surprised basic scan's taken so long. I'm surprised they don't have a quick scan option. Credentialed scans. Uses valid credentials such as username and password to log into the target system. So that's pretty cool. Once you crack a password, then you could use that potentially. You can create scans to check your assets for vulnerabilities. Known vulnerability is a threat, and when it's acted upon, it becomes an exploit. We learned that. Scan types determine the scope and intensity. And credentialed scans use login credentials for deeper, more accurate results. Fantastic. Oh, is one done? Thick. Oh, it's not done. I'm so excited. Let's see if we have any new stuff popping up here. Host discovery scan. Nmap is certainly quicker, so if you were trying to run and get data a little bit quicker, you might want to just use smaller tools. Goodness gracious. Well, I'm going to try out this pause button on the recording that I've never used, and I'll come back if it works when this is done scanning. Let's get back to it a little bit. Thought of stuff to say. I was wondering what Nessus plugins are. The concept of plugins is one of our objectives to learn about. Imagine Nessus as a detective with a vast library of clues to look for. Each plugin is a tiny program written in Nessus tax scripting language. What's this written in? What's it look like? So plugins are written by Nessus. General purpose language, it's not. And the code snippet looks maybe like TypeScript. TypeScript, I've been scoffed at for saying this, but to me it looks like Python and JavaScript had a baby. It's more intuitive than JavaScript, but uses semicolons. That's my observation. Oh my gosh, I see a check mark, which means they're done. I looked up while waiting. Nessus scans can take anywhere from like 10 to 20 minutes up to 30 minutes, even longer. Looks like there are ways to speed them up, but I assume the more you speed them up, the less you're going to learn, unless you're running multiple scans at once or able to set up multiple threads or something. Anyhow, let's look at the basic network scan. One host, we've got a note. I'm curious to look at it. Your plugins haven't been updated. That in itself might be a vulnerability that we have on our system. So we've got one critical severity, score 10 out of what I assume is 10. PHP unsupported version detection. Installation of PHP on the remote host is no longer supported, which outdated versions are a huge opportunity for red hats, or rather black hats, excuse me, sorry Red Hat Linux. For black hats to take advantage of. Patches, creating new versions, are what plugs in those holes, those vulnerabilities. So we need to, as a solution provided, upgrade the version of PHP. This was the output that it's probably parsing this information from. 16 informational reports, it looks like. Multiple issues with HTTP. This is probably going to yell at us for not having secure 443 port. Not really yelling at us, just telling us. It should yell, it should say you need to get SSL and have HTTPS port 443 on there, sucker. So I would say to my client in those exact words. Device type, operating system identification. So a lot of this is falling under the recon phase, learning about the operating system that the target's using, which you can then look into, see what kind of exploits can be performed on those operating systems and their versions. Traceroute information, I'm curious to see. Traceroute basically follows network traffic to see all where it ends up. So we've scanned a website. We've talked about the concept of plugins. We've set up some scans. Let's go back to my scans and check out the host discovery scan. See if there are any new vulnerabilities. Nessus scan info. Plugins out of date. So this is, interestingly, the basic scan seems slower and more thorough than the host scan. However, this does seem to pull a lot of the same information without interpreting it as much. We've got the Linux OS, our scanner's IP, I would assume. No port scanner, so it could involve a port scanner, probably doing something like applying an extra nmap scan to grab the ports. VPR top threats, no vulnerabilities have been found as prioritized by Tenable's patented vulnerability priority rating system. And they actually have, it looks like they're associated with Tenable here. You can open up Tenable News straight from Nessus, which is probably a good resource to keep in mind. So we performed 2 scans. Seems like this sucker was a little bit quicker. Actually, when did I start it? Let's look. Started this one at 6:41. Started the host 6:46. So host actually took longer. I may have misspoke, but it just seemed like the basic fella provided more information, with the biggest issue there being the unsupported PHP. Tenable, not seeing any top threats on this one. History is showing our 1 scan notes saying that our plugins are outdated. Please run Nessus update plugins to get the newest vulnerability checks. So let's try that. I don't think this is going to work, but I'm just going to do it. I already forgot it. I have terrible ADHD. Let's go back. No, we don't want a new one, buddy. Let's just copy and paste this sucker. Use our tools. Let's try it. It's not going to do anything, is it? I don't like that. Terminal command. I wonder if we have to stop the service. Command not found. What? Sudo Nessus update. Just taking out the dashes, adding a space. Nothing, bruh. Nessus, help me. Nessus D, help me. In terminal Kali, how would I update Nessus? apt update, apt upgrade. Download the latest package. Looks like it's from Tenable. So we would do an actual package install, not a command and command line. So we'd visit the Tenable website, download it. You do need to stop the service in the command line. Install the new package using dpackage. Downloaded the .deb file and running.deb, I think is .debian. Sudo package install Nessus wildcard.deb. Okay, well, we're not going to do that. That's how you do it, though. Hey, let's try this actually. Here is a command line where it targets the actual Nessus files. Yeah, we totally have received the usual lecture. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Oh. Well, that would have worked had we the proper information. Get and trying to see what you know what grep stack full stack's the full stack is the Cybersecurity Bootcamp. Default password for Kali is usually just Kali. Nah, it's not liking it. Control C to get out of there. Well, that looks like the way you could perform the update through the command line if you already have Nessus set up. Otherwise, go into Tenable and getting the plugin, running the dpackage command once you download the .debian file would be the other way. I'm going to go ahead and stop talking. If I said anything incorrectly, which was and always is probably inevitable, leave a comment. Otherwise, do some good learning, fam. Bye.